Hello everyone, this is the Inside Ep.3 podcast show with Pigman. We would start with the Inside Ep.3 podcast show. Of course, this is the Primo Diggers Hangout, and here on our Primo Diggers Hangout, we normally do the Inside Ep.3 podcast show. After the podcast show, we would move straight to Diggers Networking, where listeners can come around and just give their own opinion or ask questions. And lastly, we would hear from Team Aprimio, some updates coming from the team, from the core team department of Aprimio. Yes, I would definitely start with a little update, as we normally do here on the Inside Ep.3 podcast show. We give some updates. So I've got some updates on my here on my list. Just a few updates. Some of the things happening inside Web3. Amazing things have been happening, of course, and we've seen over the weeks, like in the month of May, we've seen serious happenings within the Web3 space. Yeah, especially reward asset organization and other narrative making moves and trends here in the space. I'll also be giving you guys some little updates from the gold market, because this is a premium gold industry. A lot has been happening with the gold industry also. So yes, just enjoying the updates for your own self. And first on my list here at Web3, we're seeing Circle, the popular Circle's 6.7 billion IPO filing signals stablecoin growth. And there are posts from X, a lot of posts from X coming highlight Circle's filing for a 6.7 billion IPO, as reported by Cointelegraph and also Coindex. Yes, and this move underscores the mainstream adoption of stablecoins like USDC, which saw a $2 million atomic swap with MTB on May 27th, as reported by Cointelegraph. It's, the IPO reflects growing institutional confidence in stablecoins as a bridge between DeFi and also traditional finance, with Circle integrations into payment systems like, of course, yeah, Spotify. Okay, yeah, Shopify driving real. And second on my list, we're also seeing some, latest updates from MetaMask. MetaMask adds Solana support, boosting interoperability. Yeah, it's one of the latest news we're hearing. MetaMask integration, Solana, which is, of course, we're seeing Cointelegraph reports that this aligns with a broad trend of wallet upgrades to support multi-chain ecosystem, with Solana, declining main coins prices offset by strong trader interest. This is also making big move here in the Web3 space. Another on my list is SEC. SEC drops Binance lawsuit. Async pressures. There is also one of the updates we are getting from here on in the Web3 space. Please, if you can hear me, just give me an emoji. I want to know if I'm audible. Sorry, I did not even test my mic, so I want to know if I'm audible.
Good morning, or
Yeah.
afternoon, or evening, where everyone is coming in from. Your mic is coming through. It cuts in and out just a little bit. Could be that, what is it called on here? Microphone settings. The noise suppression. Sometimes that cuts off words here or there. I toggled mine off because I trust my microphone to be good enough.
Okay. What about now?
I actually think that's much better.
Okay. Okay. I guess it's. Oh, I have to always do that before I come here. Okay. Thank you so much, Matthew. Uh, I'm just going to give one more update on just for gold market. Then we start with our introduction of our guest speakers, and of course, gold updates still the same coming out. We've seen gold prices, all-time highs amid global uncertainty. Reports from World Gold Council and central banks also accelerate domestic gold purchases. Still the same news we've been seeing right from the beginning of this year. Gold prices going high, central banks buying gold, and yes, ETFs, gold ETFs seeing inflows and blah blah blah. Yeah, things have been happening even in the gold industry, and Premio is here to find its own place to see how we can be the bridge between blockchain and gold, which of course we've been doing and we're making progress. So that will be all from updates from the gold market and also from Web3. What has been happening, and so thank you so much. Moving on, I will be going straight to introduction. Yes, we know our guests. Some of us might know our guests. I'm here with Matthew from Building Incorporation. Really nice to have you. And I'm also here with Anastasia, the head of growth from De facto. She's also here. And I guess you guys will do your own introduction properly. And I would say just a brief introduction about yourself. I'll start with Matthew, then we'll go with Anastasia. And also you're joining this space. So Matthew, the mic is yours. Yeah.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you for the good introduction and all the updates on the gold market, something that I don't tune into, but is very valuable and such a cornerstone of the world economy. So my name is Matthew Schneider. I'm the CEO at Building Inc. And Building Inc. focuses on the verification, structuring, and activation of real estate data. Now, we believe that real estate data is very important for the tokenization process because it informs price, risk, and ultimately both of those things determine whether something is super tradable. If we want more liquidity, that means we have to trade more, but it means that we need to understand the underlying assets. This was fueled from my background in capital markets as well as my experience over the past half decade in at the crossroads of tokenization and real estate, among other technologies and adjacent industries like construction, artificial intelligence, and just seeing where all of these things intersect and how new innovative ideas can come about. So I'm glad to be here and looking forward
Yeah.
to the questions that you unveil.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, beyond these questions, like it's really going to be an interesting conversation. I've read a number of the content. Like you guys are doing amazing things here in the space, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say, especially on tokenization and also on data. I realize you talk so much about data, which is very crucial and to whatever man is doing with technology and all other stuff and innovation. So yes, so okay, let's hear from Anastasia from the factory. Anastasia, if you can hear me, yeah, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? I think I have a lot of background noise. So I just want to double check. Is this better, or should I switch to a different mode? Or can you hear me well without the music in the background?
I would rate it 5 out of 10 stars. It could use some work.
All right, let me try to see. How about now? Is it much better now?
A little, yeah, a little bit more crisp.
All right.
We just
All
going
right,
to.
apologies, guys. Yeah, so I'm Anastasia. I'm head of growth at Defactor. Again, sorry about the background noise. I'm at the High Rock, New York. That's a fitness event happening in New York City this weekend. So with Defactor, we've been in the tokenization space for about 4 years. Our tools and infrastructure provide the opportunity for RWA projects to tokenize assets on all the VM chains, as well as launch lending and borrowing capabilities around those assets. So essentially, it's a 0 to 1 toolkit for the startups to start and to grow their business around the tokenized asset classes across the world. We've been pretty much in the space tokenizing invoices and receivables first, hence kind of the name de facto from factoring. If you're familiar with that term from trade finance. And then essentially now we're working on precious metals, commodities, other asset classes. And yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me again. And again, apologies for the background noise.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anastasia. The background noise, we could manage that anyways. I was actually, I really wanted you guys to tell me about yourself rather than just what you guys are doing. I know we'll definitely come to that point, but yeah, I know you guys not much, but of course, we will still get to know you guys, you bring your own journey, in the space. But let's move on to a very very important question, and I guess I should start with Anastasia before I come to Matthew, because I believe Anastasia is having some things doing around there in New York right now. So before she leaves us, so Anastasia, very personally, I want to know your own personal insight. I mean, your perspective of what Web3 means to you personally. What how do you see the space as a whole, the evolution of the internet? So, what does this whole Web 3.0 and all this stuff? What does it mean to you in particular? Your insight on the evolution we're looking at right now.
Yeah, thanks again. And yeah, there's a bit of a delay from my side because I'm switching modes from noise cancellation to transparency. So bear with me. And thanks again for prioritizing the questions for me. First, I do have about 20 minutes with you guys. I'm sorry about that. So for I guess the Web3 space, it's important that it's a new way of interacting with data and interacting with products. So when we had Web2, obviously, when those projects started, like Google and those that owns the data, but the users can essentially interact with it, but they don't really have the ownership of it and can't really have much say in how their data is being used. Web3, I think, is completely revolutionizing that type of environment. And I think it's changing the way people interact with products, with data, and essentially providing, like, if we're thinking about DeFi and we're thinking about financial solutions, I think it's really changing the way people consume things and say for them. And I think with tokenization of assets, particularly, because, that's my domain in a way, like, I think we are changing the way people invest in assets and look at the kind of the store of value for their own, well, at the moment, like fiat earned cash, right? Like if people are getting paid, they're working with traditional industries, maybe, Web2, traditional, let's say, real estate or whatever the industry may be. They're getting paid in fiat, but they are thinking what to do with it. And now they have the option to step into the Web3 industry to have a look at what kind of products exist, and maybe they're more liquid, maybe they're bringing them more yield or higher yield. So I think that's pretty much how it's changing the consumer behavior and the investment behavior across, across really different countries.
Yeah, thank you so much for that insight. Matthew, we should hear from you or your take on that. Yeah.
So awkwardly, I have to ask that the question is repeated because I had a little internet hiccup. Now, I think I get the gist of it from Anastasia's answer, but just so that I give it 100% accuracy, could you
Okay.
rephrase it?
Okay. I mean, your perspective about what Web3 is, the evolution of the internet, Web3 as a whole in particular. What's your view? What's your opinion on the subject? Yeah.
Well, so that being the question, I think that the last answer was really good. I mean, it's a reframing of how value is captured and who is responsible for capturing that value. We know that everything around the world is constantly being transacted, whether it's information or assets of sorts, but it's never been so peer-to-peer. And Web3, unlike other versions of virtual transactions, allows for direct transaction. And that's really unique because it preserves value. So not only is this moving value potentially faster and with the benefits of anonymity in some cases or consumer privacy, but to not be so dependent on as many intermediaries, that's good for our pockets. And I think the long-term benefits of that is going to produce some of the benefits that we're looking for, like higher yields, where there aren't all these middlemen that step in and say, well, you're dependent on us in order to complete this transaction, and we have to enforce regulation and all these things that were previously unavailable because we lacked programmability or just the actual rails to make payments or to invest into something. So it's just a fascinating, more streamlined, more autonomous version of transactions and commerce, physical or online, as we know it.
Thank you so much, Matthew, for that powerful insight on Web3, more autonomous, removing the middleman and all that. And I also believe that is what projects like building are working on, and also even with de facto. Um, Regarding de facto, I looked at your profile, I mean your website, and I like the idea of how you guys wants to make tokenization simple. I will use that word because that is what it means. You guys say from start to scale, and I did some overview with some of your contents and the way you are putting it out, and it's giving us this feeling, this vibe of a tokenized future. Amazing things you guys are doing, even in as per your toolkit, something like, yeah, of course, and all that. So, kudos to de facto, also kudos to building and everyone. Building, I believe, centers on real estate, which I know is a very, very powerful and big industry when when you come to reward asset organization. So, moving on, I would just push on to de facto, to Anastasia. You're on de facto, and I really want to know. Let's have a deep view on reward asset tokenization from your end. I mean, we all know this is already making trends here in the blockchain industry. A lot of things is happening. This year we saw, I would like say a kind of an amplification, something like that. Like everyone is talking about reward asset tokenization. You see it on the press, even the government are talking about it. You see what's happening in Dubai, and I mean the Middle East, and conferences and events. A lot is happening within this narrative. So, de facto, you guys believe in a tokenized future. So, tell us what this whole, I call it a revolution, is all about. How it's going to help, the masses, of course, and the common man. So, the mic is yours, Anastasia. Thank you.
Thanks. I guess, well, yeah, that's a pretty broad question. I suppose how it's revolutionizing the space. I think it really just brings more utility and a wider exposure to certain asset classes. So if you can imagine, previously, access to certain asset classes like real estate, precious metals, commodities, it's all been done through Web2 platforms, so like platforms from the traditional finance space. So you would have to be from a certain jurisdiction, have access to certain platforms, like, I don't know, let's say interactive brokers or Robinhood, like those type of platforms where you can trade different assets, but you have to be in a particular jurisdiction. You have to, I guess, KYC and on board on those particular platforms. Now with tokenization, it's a lot wider community that can tokenize assets, put them on chains, and put them on those marketplaces for tokenized assets. So then a wider community of investors doesn't actually interact with it. That's why interacting, I mean, they can purchase tokenized assets and obviously wait for the assets to appreciate and receive yield on their investment. But others understand, I also understand that from the emerging market, one of the needs, and that's partly why we developed lending and borrowing as a second part of our toolkit, is because when you're sitting on those assets and waiting for them to appreciate, one of the most popular features around tokenized assets is lending, because then you can do a short-term loan, get cash, use it, return it, and essentially still have the exposure to the appreciation of the asset value that is in the long term. And that's what something that, you as an investor believe in if you're investing in USP or tokenized gold and so on. So for, I guess, in short summary, it's expanding the narrative around investing and bringing more utility to a wider group of investors from different jurisdictions and different profiles, essentially.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that insight. Just before you go, I'm also interested in knowing, as a team, your challenges. What are the biggest challenges you guys have faced in because from your story, you guys have been working on de facto for like 3 years. Yes, I made the research, and definitely you guys have come across challenges as regards to your vision and your mission. So just give us what are challenges, and of course how have you guys been able to fix or solve such challenges to ensure that you came to this in particular level, the entire de facto mission. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess like we're coming on to 4 years in the industry. And for us, I think the main challenge is really that leap from Web 2 to Web 3. So really educating those clients. So basically, having that educational process all set up and essentially developing content, developing, these kind of things like podcasts and AMAs, Twitter spaces, it's been very helpful for us to really just build the community and educate the audience that is interacting with tokenized assets. Obviously, it's a very new industry, so we're all learning. It's not like we're all experts and we're teaching somebody about it, but rather we're exploring things with our clients and with our potential partners and clients. Because essentially, the Web2 space, they are aware of the benefits that the on-chain assets could bring to them, but the main process of how it's set up, not even just how the technology works, but what needs to happen before the technology is deployed, like the legal structures, where to issue the assets, how to set up an SPV that holds the portfolio of, let's say, real estate or any other assets. And besides the legal and the technical infrastructure side, one of the main questions is the distribution. Where does the liquidity come from? Where the tokenized assets will be distributed? And from the factors point of view, I think, well, with the tech, obviously, we got it all covered from tokenization to lending to staking and governance, also for those projects that launch their own utility or governance tokens. But the tech is just the first step, in our opinion. So essentially, to help out with the distribution and to help out with the expansion of the partners around liquidity and distribution, we started to develop that network, connect with those marketplaces or licensed broker dealers that can help our clients distribute out to various jurisdictions. So that's another way of how we're trying to address that pain point. And then finally, a few months ago, we launched the product that basically the sister company to Defactor. It's called RWA.io. And that's essentially a shopfront for all the assets, because the more we speak to various RWA projects, the more we understand that they actually need more exposure and they need more liquidity that comes to them. And so essentially RWA.io is this data aggregator that showcases all tokenized RWA projects that essentially have their own token, they have their own data around tokenized assets. And, hopefully that kind of shopfront really helps bring more exposure to these projects and then eventually collaborate with more of those marketplaces and essentially help with the distribution because, to sum up, like that's basically the biggest pain point in the RWA industry, how to distribute the assets once they've been tokenized.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anastasia, for that. Definitely, you got regulations. This is something almost everywhere, and what I said as a new narrative in a way is also having such challenges. Of course, we're all learning. Just like you said, education is key, and yes, de facto also coming in with RWA.io is also a good fit. Looking at the vision, how your visions are together, coming up together. So definitely we've seen challenges even here at Premio. We've seen regulatory challenges, and we're still pushing forward on that particular aspect. So yeah, over to you, Matthew. Yes, your take on real world asset tokenization, and I would love you to relate it to what building is doing, mainly on the real estate aspect. So what is this whole topic for you? Yeah.
The three things that I think tokenization are offering are programmability, cross-border distribution, and dynamism, which is the ability for investments to be more dynamic. Now, when it comes to programmability, this is revolving around transactions and compliance. So transactions can be executed almost instantaneously because everything that requires a successful transaction, such as who are the two parties involved, and where is the money going, what good is being exchanged, can be programmed beforehand into the contract itself. That's why we call them smart contracts. And then the compliance portion, which is what are all the terms and conditions required for this to execute. The challenge in this area, because I think of programmability as the opportunity, the challenge is the regulators. They have to tell us what we're allowed to program into our contracts. We can have smart contracts, but contracts have to be legally accepted. So that's a hurdle that we have to get over, but it will drastically streamline how easily, how often we can conduct transactions between parties, how we can reallocate portfolios and protect investor funds. Lots of opportunity there. Next is the cross-border distribution. Generally, it's very difficult to move money between international banks. And if you do it, it's going to be a little bit slow and there's strings attached. So the ability